the touchy subject of sexism, misogyny, and the objectification of women in industrial music and the scene. I think maybe we could just go down the line and introduce ourselves. I'm Andi. I'll be the moderator. I would like to call this more of a conversation, so it's a little more laid back. I am a DJ, and I'm a writer. I wrote the book Somewhere Leather, Somewhere Lace. And I also do a lot of writing for Bandcamp as well. And I write for postpunk.com. And I run Syntheside in New York City. So,
where do I start?
just the abridged version.
The abridged version. I am also a DJ and a promoter. I started out in St. Louis, Missouri, and then moved to Chicago because of Wax Trax. And I was also a promoter and a DJ there. Then I went to New York, and now I live in Berlin. Still doing the same.
That's Lisa.
Oh yeah.
I am Verónica, and I give conferences for the ones that already saw me. I research different teams. I'm the curator behind Urban Arts Berlin, a platform from sound art. I am actually a professional sound artist, professional sound designer. I'm also an industrial industrial noise producer. I am a DJ. I am many things because I love to be many things. I am a woman of the Renaissance. Thank you that you are here.
I think when I was trying to put this panel together, it was a lot harder than I thought, trying to find some women that wanted to kind of speak out. And I think that says something in itself, but I think actually talking about it and putting it out in the open is really a good first step. I don't know if any of you listen to Cemetery Confessions, but there was a really good episode that I was on about misogyny and industrial. And I'm kind of going to play off that, but this time I kind of want to talk about how we can fix this problem and ideas, and then I would like to open up the floor for questions or more ideas, because really I just think that this is a community thing, and the more people that are aware of what's going on, the better. So maybe I would ask you guys, when was the first time in the industrial scene when you kind of felt, hey, women are treated the same as the men in the scene? Like, when was that first time that you were like, wow?
I mean, in my case, I wouldn't say only in the industrial scene. I would say in the society. Since I was born, I was not really welcome for doing certain things. My father wanted to have a guy, so that I am thankful because he made me a little bit masculine, and that's why I love cables and I can plug my things. But I think it goes even further down as the industrial thing. I think patriarchy, as we know, it's an issue in different places. In the industrial scene, since always.
What got you into industrial? What about the sound or the aggressiveness?
I like the violence of it, but I come from the punk scene first. Punk got me into noise, into industrial music. Ministry got me actually into industrial music, I would say in my case. But what I liked about it was, the from punk music as a woman was that I could have the chance to scream. But the thing was that it took many, many years for me to be able to be on a stage and do it. It was a long journey to get there, meaning it's a male terrain.
I agree with you. I think, my experience is I don't think that men really have to try as hard. Women are constantly having to prove themselves that they know the music, because many guys will say, oh, well, do you know that album? What year was that? Do you know this and that? And kind of just quizzing all the women just to make sure that they're actually
that they could belong.
Yes.
I agree with you.
I also came from the punk scene and also from the rave scene, which back in the 90s was not so separate. And so I think for me, what attracted me to industrial music was the sort of angst that I could relate to growing up in a small town and being an outcast and being weird. And I don't think there was a moment where I realized that women were treated differently. I think it's like a slow realization, like little tiny things happen, and then you eventually start to realize that you're not treated the same way that your male peers are.
Right. I think also it's hard to accept when you realize that some men are not good people, and you have to. I would like to know your opinion about like Genesis, for example. When Cozy's book came out, she talked about Genesis abusing her. How do you deal with this sort of news? Do you stop listening, or is it more of a private thing, or do you just kind of say, oh, well, it was in the past? How do you handle those sort of situations when you find out someone is less than great?
I think for me, I can't separate the person from their music. If I like you as a person, even if your band isn't that good, I might like it better because I like you. And also, if I find out that you're a terrible person, then your music is going to be forever tainted for me. But that's not everyone. Not everyone is like that. Some people are able to really compartmentalize those things, and so I understand that, different people view it in a different way. But as for things that happened in the past, I'm not going to throw away my old records, right? But I can also appreciate that at the time I didn't know, and I liked, this artist for, what I knew at the time, and that things are different now. And it doesn't necessarily even mean that it doesn't take away their impact on music or myself, but it changes it. You see it in a different light.
I mean, in my case, for instance, now talking about contemporary artists, in the Berlin scene, when I talk to female producers, DJs, we have personal chats, and then in the personal chats comes the shade behind the curtains, Like now I have a producer that I'm not gonna drop names, but 'cause I'm a nice person. But for me, I just put the guys in the blacklist because they are really being abusive towards women, towards sisters, towards musicians. They are just trying to basically sexually fuck them, and only, They don't see us as an equal. Many times they just see us as sorry for being a little bit vulgar, but really like as a black hole that has to be, And for me, it's very offensive. I take it personal because that could happen to me. It does not happen to me because in Berlin the people know me and they don't fuck around with me. There's, there's a reason why I do what I do and why I get what I get, because they guys realize that I am not, that I will, punch them at least in the fucking face. But I see sisters that are really harassed and that are these guys sending pictures of their dicks, and these guys and these respectable musicians. And then I think that guy, I'm not gonna post anything related to his music. I boycott the guy in that sense because I don't think he deserves it. That's the way I deal with it.
Why do you think there is that complete lack of respect towards women?
I think it's because the society has educated. It has a lot to do with patriarchy, with the normative, the mediums, how guys are educated. And there, we also as mothers, I have a son, we are also responsible there, that we have to educate the little guys and say, hey, women deserve respect. Also, we have to show to the kids that women are cool, that we are loving too, so they don't grow up with this misogyny going on because my mother was a bitch. Everyone is a bitch, So I think has a lot to do with education, and the guys just had bad experiences, and then they had bad mothers. Many have been traumatized really by bitches as mothers, and they just project their traumas onto you sometimes. And also it's the patriarchy, the culture. They are educated to be in power and to treat us just in a, as a second-class human being.
Do you think it's worse in the industrial scene than?
I think, well, what is worse in the industrial scene is that we're supposed to be radical, and then at the end of the day, it becomes even more vulgar sometimes.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think when you have, industrial music there's sexism in industrial music because there's sexism in society and everywhere. And when you have this aggressive, sort of masculine music, it even propels more, people feel that they can act out in a way that they maybe wouldn't otherwise. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that it's any worse than anywhere else, though.
It seems to me that industrial was once a lot more inclusive. Maybe in the late 80s it sort of started closing off a little bit and becoming this hyper-masculine sort of thing, and then peaking in the late 90s with the beginning with Kombi Christ and sort of agritech sort of stuff.
Electronic music in general has gone backwards in that way. Things have changed since the 80s quite a bit.
But I think that happens also in the pop music, It happens always in alternative movements. That also in the Gothic treffen happens as well. That's not the same as it used to be. And the thing is that sometimes the movements start in a very open, like the Goths and the punks in the 70s, they were basically queers as well, and it was very open, inclusive, and even working class as well. Everyone was welcome, and that was the beauty out of it. But then sometimes things evolve, and then you get these very conservative people getting into the scene, not really understanding what the thing is about, really, and then they just fuck it up, and that has happened again and again in the underground.
Right. Well, I think one of the more tragic stories I've had is I think maybe it's more acceptable to have the visuals of that aggression, because I went to see Seco, and they had visuals of a man beating a woman, and like her on the floor, bloody and bleeding, and I had to leave the show, and I told the promoter, I went to the promoter and I said, this is not okay, this should not be acceptable. So the promoter went to Seco's booking agent, and their excuse was, oh, that's life in Mexico City. But that doesn't help anything. That normalizes it.
I can't respond that, and I agree with you. I don't disagree. I think it depends who tells the story, how the story is told. If you have a Mexican guy with violent visuals on the stage, me, myself, as a Mexican woman, I will say, what the fuck, and I agree with you. If you will have me projecting sexual violence towards woman, it's a woman reflecting maybe about it. But when it is a guy, I will question exactly the same. What are you trying to say with these visuals? That it is right? That it is wrong? Why do I have, and coming from a band that it's a, male band, very, I will find it also problematic. And I'm glad that you talked to the promoter, because these issues should be discussed in an alternative scene, I think. And that's what I mean. Sometimes I will expect people to be a little bit more intelligent,
Well, I felt very isolated and alone, because nobody was really on my side. Everybody just had an excuse.
It's just art.
Yeah, it's just the way it is there. They're just showing you what it's like.
That's pretty sad.
But,
and I would love to be with you, and as a Mexican come and have a chat about it with the band.
Yeah.
With the band.
Hopefully they changed. I refuse to go go to a secret show ever again.
Of course.
Same thing happened to me at Treffen a couple years ago. I was really excited to see ESA, and I walked in to the concert, and there was a visual of a woman tied down to a table being cut open, and I was just mortified, and I walked out. I never play his music ever again. Like I have no context for why he thought that was appropriate to show. I don't know what he was trying to say. I mean, the music doesn't even have words. There's no context, and I have a really low tolerance for violence and blood. I was no way that I was going to stand there and watch that. Like, yeah.
I mean, the thing is also like when you talk about art, music, arts, and there are really, it's the same with the facho approach or neo-Nazism, that many people say, but we're artists. We're free to do whatever we want, so we can put a Hitler on the or we can have a male. Why? Because that's transgressive, that's provocative. And in a way they are right. But in another way, you have many transgressive artists that really have a fantastic, deep content and message. It's not just provocation. For me, those are the children artists that are not that smart. They just provoke, but they don't tell you really nothing. They take the things out of context. You go home and say, like, what the fuck? What's your position about this? That's, for me, not that intelligent people, But there are other artists that I respect, which they take a decent position, and you can talk about it. So
right. Well, you also mentioned saying if you had those visuals, it changes the context.
Absolutely.
And I completely agree with you. I guess a lot of bands would sample sex sounds or screams or something like that from horror movies or whatever. And I think women screaming in pain, it's an overdone thing in industrial. Okay, we got it. Like, that happened in the late 80s. Like, that's not new anymore. It's not provocative. It's just an easy thing, But I think if a woman artist takes that and puts it in her music, that says something completely different. But for a man just to take the easy route, sample a movie of a woman dying or being whatever, it's just very boring and overdone.
No, in particular, I mean, you knock my bell as a Mexican with the feminicides at the moment. 9 women kill and torture per day. It's not a fucking joke.
Right.
If you want to project those visuals, then you have to contextualize and put, particularly as a male, what is your position about it?
Exactly.
Is it happening daily? So what does that mean? That it should happen? Or not? I mean, you have to say something.
You can put words on the screen.
Exactly.
And if you put that statistic in front of that visual, then it
9
changes.
women are killed, then it's smarter.
Right.
Then it's really transgressive. Otherwise, it's bullshit. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's important to think about context, but I think a lot of people can take the easy route and just do like a quick.
Just lazy people.
Yeah. I feel like men should try harder to just do something different. I mean, I would like to see more women in the scene making great music and just fucking shit up. And why do you think that there aren't that many? Like, I try to always book a woman DJ or a woman artist, and it's not always that easy, but I make the effort. And I think a lot of industrial nights, goth nights, do not make that effort to include a woman and normalize that. And also, there should never be an all-woman lineup just advertised that way, like girls' night. That should never happen. Just make a lineup of all women, normalize it, don't make a deal about it, and let the women speak for themselves through their art or their mixes,
I mean, me as running Urban Arts Berlin, that was always something that I did, which was booking mostly of the lineup was, women and people that identify as such, gay, transsexuals, Because for me, exactly because of that, I always wondered why it's always the boys booking the boys, and the girls are always the girlfriends or the girls on the stage showing the tits. Only. Mm-hmm. And then I think people like you, because I know you book women as well, and I think we need to be allies, and when you're smart in the scene, we should support each other. We should book, help people, putting more women on stage, girls to the front. I think it's a time for it. But it's also not that many women are producing industrial music.
Right.
Like, that's why it was hard to find more women for this panel, actually, because there are not that many doing it. No?
Yeah. Well, also I think that shit, I lost my train of thoughts.
No worries.
I can also interject into that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I also book parties and book DJs, but I also hold my peers accountable. If I have a friend who throws a lot of parties and he has booked 3 parties and he's never booked a woman, you will see me walk up to him and yell at him and say, what's going on here? Like, do you need names? Because I have them. And if you do that, and that's something that you as an audience member can do, you can go and say, like, hey, I noticed that there's an inequality with your lineups, and what can we do to change this?
That's really, I think that's really good and important. Like, you don't have to be a DJ or artist. This is a way that you can support women. And remember what I want to say is that internalized misogyny is a huge thing in the scene, because I think we have to work that much harder to get where we are. So we are very protective of our spot, but I think, it's a growth thing. As you feel more comfortable with yourself, you can allow other women in, and that's what I want to do. I would rather raise up other women, so we can. It's not a game. It's not a contest. But I think it's hard for some women to realize that, and that's why it's so cutthroat, or they would rather just play with guys because they are the only women. But I think it's better women in numbers.
Yeah, you work so hard, and then it's like you feel protective of it. But then I always ask myself, what would a man do in this situation? They are booking each other and helping each other out, and lifting each other up and pulling each other up. So we as women also have to do the same.
Just what I always tell to people in general, particularly women, remember the spider. We have to work like spiders. We have to build up networks. We have to support each other. We have to, as you say, lift each other, and also do our own things. Like, I learned that from the punk scene. If you don't like something, then get organized and do your own shows and put your own people and book your own, because normally people are not gonna liberate you. You gotta fight for it. And that's the sad point, but you gotta fight for it. But you can find allies, you can find ways, and there are males that are really aware of many things, and they can also, and they do support us as well, Right. That's also important to mention. Not all males suck. There are also brothers that support, that say, okay, a woman on the stage, okay, and then we can come and say, maybe next time 50-50 instead of 91-1.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. We don't hate men. Well, not all men, but I think it's...
I do.
I don't know if a lot of men are aware what they're doing because they've never had to think about it.
Right.
So it's our job, unfortunately, to take that and tell them, take that burden and let them know. It's our job,
But that's the history of slavery, I mean, you have to explain the world to the person oppressing you because they are in a privileged position. So you gotta be smarter to say in a smart way, fuck off, Things have to change. And I think for women now, that's the work what we are doing also with this panel. It's time to change, and we are here to change it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, what ways would you suggest for partygoers to help make spaces safer for women?
I mean, if you're a guy, for instance, if I would be a guy, I wouldn't touch the tits of a woman. I would, for instance.
So no touching tits.
No.
Do not touch tits at club, no butt touching. No touching.
No
really.
touching.
Yeah.
Without consent.
I mean, unless she wants and you realize
Consent.
she does want, And unfortunately, in the scene, sometimes many things happen when everyone is drunk.
Yeah.
You know, I heard some stories. I really don't want to drop names because it's horrible. But it's just one guy totally drunk from the scene that is now very famous. The music is like, but he got the network and whatever. And once in Berlin, he got totally drunk, and that's okay. I have done that, you know. But the guy, there was, I think, 2 Polish girls in the venue, and were quite beautiful girls, you know. And this guy was just coming to them and grabbing them, trying to get the bras off of her, you know, of the both of them, not only once, many times during the night, until at some point he really took the t-shirt off the girl, so the tits were. And there are 2 points about this story. The first point is the people that told me about it were the musicians that play on the same night. And then I thought like, what's wrong with this fucking guy? How is this possible in today in Berlin? How is this even possible? Second, this guy was not only once, he was the whole night trying to grab this girl, you know, the clothing of the girls. And then third question was, why are you telling me the story? Who did something? No one did anything. That's the worst. Because if you see violence towards women and you don't say nothing, you are part of the problem. I think if I would have been there, I would come and say, let her alone. What's fucking wrong with you, you know? Don't touch her. Nobody did anything. That's also a huge problem.
I feel like I see this because I also work in techno, and I also was talking to somebody yesterday about how I see this in the punk scene as well. There's been a loss of community, and that affects that quite a bit. Like, we used to look out for each other much more than we do now, and we need respect and empathy from everybody, and to look out and to stop things whenever we see it happening.
Right. I think in spaces, it's a lot of the promoter's job to make people feel that they can come to you and say something, but actually it can be anyone's. If you see something and you're a little afraid for yourself, don't get involved, go tell somebody. But if you feel like you can be safe as well, then yeah, say something. Just ask the person if they're okay. Say, oh, would you like to come with me to the bathroom? Or, you know, just get it out of the you know, the conflict. But I think it's promoter's job to say, hey, we will not tolerate racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia. And you have to say that either in the Facebook page or like maybe in your newsletter. You need to let people know that they can be safe and they can come to you and say when something's wrong and you're going to do something about it. I feel like a lot of promoters and a lot of people in general are just like, want to stay neutral. You know, you hear about a shitty guy, you're just like, I know he's shitty, but you know, I'm still going to be friends with him, or I'm going to see
He sells a lot of records, and you know, we get a lot of, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So
there's a lot of that.
I mean, I think if the person is your friend, then things get a little more complicated. Yes. You have to make a decision whether you want to stand by that person and help them rehabilitate from their bad behavior, or if you're going to cut them out and say, I've got enough friends, I don't need this. But I think that if you as an audience member, you can go to the promoter and say, I noticed that you don't have something on your Facebook event page or whatever that says anything about, you know, not tolerating, disrespectful people in general. Like, it's not just about women. And that when I see something like that on a invitation to a party, this makes me feel really good about it. And if you don't see that, then you can go and ask them, like, well, what's going on here? Like, same as you can ask them to book more women. We can hold people accountable.
Right. I agree. And also it could just be a thing that they don't realize that they need to do that. So just reminding them is a very positive thing that you can do.
In my case, I had a U.S. American guy, and it's not because it's U.S. American, don't get me wrong, I'm just describing. There is a friend of mine that told me that she was harassed and harassed in a party in the toilet, you know, and I thought like, okay. And then I met the guy. He's not my friend, but I know the guy. We are nice to each other. And then I thought, we were sitting down, then my friend that told me the story came, and then he said hi to her, and she just left, you know. And then he asked me, why is your friend angry at me? And I was like, let's have a chat, you know, let's have a chat. And then I told him, look, this is going on. She told me this. I was not there. I cannot say that you did this, but she told me this, and that's why she left. And from my perspective, I tell you, if this is true, please don't do that, because it hurts a lot. Sexual violence is horrible, you know. And I had a nice chat, a warning, and I told him, look, apparently she's not the only woman talking about you. So it seems that there are many other women that experience the same. I cannot tell that this is true because I was not there, but you know yourself. If, please don't, because it hurts. And then he said like, no, I didn't do anything. I was not there. I cannot say, you know yourself, but change. But because at some point you are going to meet the grown one. And then if they all unite, we're going to be fucked forever. So in case that, please don't do it, you know. And then he was like, thank you for letting me know that this is happening. And that's a story in which you are not aggressive, you are not pointing out, you know, you're just telling like, please stop, don't do it. It hurts a lot.
Right, and I think it's also a case when there's smoke, there's fire. If you hear a story, you're usually probably going to find a few more.
You speak very well of. I'm not saying that these are the most popular women, but just introduce them to as many of these women as you can, so that they have a reference, like, oh, there are respected women in this community, and they belong here, and they're welcome here, and they're respected.